I'm John Fishwick. I'm the former United States Attorney for the Western District of Virginia, and I'm the owner of the law firm Fishwick and Associates.
Well, thank you for chatting with 7 News. Want to talk to you about this case in Prince William County in Manassas specifically. It has really gotten the attention of so many people in Virginia and beyond. And we learned on Monday that Naresh Bhatt is now charged with murder and physically defiling a dead body. Uh, do you think there's going to be any challenges in this case, considering the fact that prosecutors, investigators, police have not found the body of Mamta Kafle yet?
Well, there's always a challenge whenever the body is missing in a murder case, but it seems to me that the prosecution in this case has abundant evidence to win their case. There's a lot of forensic evidence that puts Mr. Bhatt in the house, sadly, when she apparently was killed. There's also the forensic evidence of her blood in the house. And there's a timeline that shows the two of them, together and apart. And I'm sure are meticulously tracking that timeline, plus his statements, which are incriminating and certainly I don't think will be appreciated by the jury. So I think they can win the case. It's a challenge whenever the body is missing, but the Supreme Court in Virginia has said a murder conviction can be upheld. In other words, is valid even if the body is missing.
We've heard the blood stains and some other evidence that have been critical to the investigation in this case. Uh, do you think that will play a role as prosecutors proceed?
Yes, I think the forensic evidence will be critical. Juries are expecting to see forensic evidence in a case. A lot of folks watch television, they see it on television, and they expect to see the forensic evidence, and there'll be loads of it in this case. There'll be the evidence of the blood in the house. There'll also be the detailed digital evidence of where his phone was, what text messages and searches he did on the internet, those sorts of things. So the forensic evidence will be key, but the jury will expect it, and I think they'll be looking for it, and I fully expect the prosecution to be able to produce it.
What do you think the defense team for Naresh Bhatt might do in this case? Do you think they're going to cast doubt, for instance, seeing that there's a missing body?
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be the horse that they're going to ride, that the body is missing. Therefore, we don't even know that she is deceased. I think that's going to be a challenge now that one of the charges is basically dismembering a body. And that, obviously is an horrific thing for a jury to consider if that in fact took place. So it's going to become a challenge, more of a challenge than even the charge of concealing a dead body. I think dismembering a body is a horrific charge. So the Commonwealth is going to be producing evidence that that's what he did. But the defense is going to argue, look, we haven't even found the body. I think that's going to be uphill for them because there's going to be evidence that the body was dismembered and also that he may have disposed of the body. They've got certain video evidence of him going to dumpsters.
Now, in your experience, have you prosecuted such a case where there's a missing body, or have you studied cases like this? And can you tell us what the outcomes of those cases typically are if there is a trend?
I think long time ago, it probably was difficult to prosecute these cases when the body was missing of a deceased murder victim because we did not have the forensic evidence, the digital evidence, the ability to really track down minute by minute movements of defendant. And so probably 30, 40 years ago, it was much more difficult to bring a case when the body of the murder victim was missing. But I think it's much easier now. The challenge is not nearly as significant because the methods that law enforcement can obtain evidence, tracking where the defendant was, what the defendant said, and where the victim was, and then also matching up blood evidence in this case and perhaps other DNA evidence. So it's a challenge, but it's not nearly the challenge that it was. And oftentimes prosecutions are successful in modern times.
Now, sir, is there anything else you'd like to add, whether it's about, the challenges of the prosecution, if there are any in your view, or anything else about this case that stands out to you?
No, you've asked really good questions. I think you've covered everything.
Thank you, sir.